The year is 552 CE, and the Altai Mountains split beneath Tengri's blue fire. A she-wolf descended through the smoke, her fur crackling with stolen skylight. Yet, this was no rescue, it was a covenant written in blood and bone. The Orkhon stones carry this story, a version no conqueror ever wanted you to read. In a world of felt tents and frozen rivers, the landscape itself is the first scripture. The eternal blue dome, Kuk Tengri, arches over the Orkhon Valley. To the north rises the sacred mountain Göktürk, where the sky god's breath stirs the pines and the spirits of ancestors whisper through the stone. The Rouran Khaganate has hunted these people for generations, scattering them like dust before the wind. They are desperate, and that is precisely why Tengri turns his gaze upon them. The she-wolf finds a boy in a cave, his leg crushed beneath a fallen horse, his tribe's camp still burning on the plain below. She licks the blood from his forehead, and in that single gesture, the sky god's Kut, the divine favor that makes a king, passes into the Ashina bloodline. The ancient texts carved into the Orkhon inscriptions, Tengri, in order that the Turkic people should not perish, placed my father Göktürk Khagan on the throne. The boy in the cave will grow to become Bumin Khagan, and within a single generation, the she-wolf, whom the ancients named Asena, bore 10 sons to the wounded boy, and from those 10 sons grew the Ashina clan, the bloodline that Tengri had marked for greatness. According to the legend preserved in Chinese chronicles and Turkic oral tradition, these sons did not merely survive. The wolf was no ordinary beast. She was Tengri's living standard, her fur carrying the blue shimmer of the eternal sky. By 552 CE, one of her descendants stood at the head of a coalition of Turkic tribes. Bumin Khagan had watched his people serve the Rouran Khaganate as iron smiths. But when he asked the Rouran ruler for a royal bride, a diplomatic gesture of equality, the answer came back as an insult. You are our blacksmith slave. The sky god's favor had evaporated like morning mist, leaving the Rouran hollow and blind. Bumin struck north. The theology of Kut is the key to understanding everything that followed. This was not a contract written on clay tablets. Kut was a living force, a spiritual electricity that flowed from Kuk Tengri into the bones of the chosen ruler. If the Khagan grew corrupt, if he let his tribe starve or his enemies grow strong, Kut would depart as silently as it arrived. Tonyukuk, the gray-haired advisor who served both Göktürk Khagan and his son Bilig, understood this better than any man alive. To rebel against the Khagan was not merely treason, it was a sin against the sky. The Orkhon inscriptions, raised between 732 and 735 CE at the memorial complex of Bilig Khagan, and so the rituals began. No temples rose on the steppe. The sky itself was the sacred space. The Khagan climbed sacred mountains like Göktürk, facing east as the sun bled gold across the horizon. Shamans beat drums shaped like the world tree, their voices rising with the smoke, asking Tengri to renew the Kut for another season. Every sunrise was a renewal of the covenant. Every battle was a test of divine favor, and every Turkic warrior who rode into combat. The year 630 CE, the Orkhon Valley fell silent. The smoke from 1,000 yurt fires no longer rose to the sky. The Göktürk Khaganate. Brothers turned on brothers. Khagans murdered their own blood for a few more years of power. And the Chinese Tang Dynasty, watching from the east, smelled weakness. The Eastern Turks surrendered. The Ashina clan, once chosen by the sky god himself, knelt before the Son of Heaven in Chang'an. The question burned in every shaman's dream. Turkic princes wore silk robes and learned Confucian etiquette. They bowed to the Tang emperor. The sacred mountain Göktürk stood empty, No more horse blood soaked its slopes. No more prayers rose toward the blue dome. The wolf totem gathered dust in forgotten felt tents. The steppe itself seemed to wither, as if the land knew its guardians had lost their way. His voice, carved into stone between 731 and 732 CE, still echoes across the centuries. At his memorial complex, they forgot their own tongue. They became slaves to silk and gold. The inscription reads like a wound that never healed. Tigin watched his own people bow to foreign emperors. But the restoration did not begin with a prince. It began with a shaman. According to the Orkhon records, this nameless mediator between heaven and earth performed the ancient rituals, a white horse sacrificed facing east, its blood steaming on the frozen ground. A single eagle circled 3 times above the mountain and flew east. The Kam descended. The cut can be reclaimed, but only if you abandon Chinese luxury and return to the felt and the horse. Göktürk Khagan listened. They fled Chinese territory, riding north under a crescent moon. They reached Utukan. He faced east. He poured kumis onto the earth. He swore an oath. I will wear no silk. I will be a Khagan of the felt tent and the open sky. And Tengri, according to the inscriptions, Bilig Khagan, who inherited this restored realm in 716 CE, understood the fragility of divine favor better than any ruler before him. They will make you soft, a Turkic man who wears Chinese robes. He had watched his own father's generation trade wolf fur for brocade boughs for calligraphy brushes, the open sky for palace ceilings. The Shamans, the Kams, became the guardians of this cosmic balance. They diagnosed when a ruler's injustice had caused Kut to leak away like water through a cracked bowl. If a Khagan grew greedy, if he taxed his people too heavily, if he built walls instead of riding the open steppe, the Kam would climb Utukan and report to the sky. The ruler was never above judgment. Tengri was not a god of punishment. When the Turkic people abandoned their ancestors' spirits, their wolf totem, their sky-facing prayers, it simply looked away. A century and a half after Bilig Khagan's warning faded into stone. The year was 1020 at 6 CE. On the banks of the Onan River, at a Kurultai of felt tent tribes, a man who had risen from slavery and starvation was proclaimed Genghis Khan. The wolf totem of the Ashina clan was no longer enough. Tengri's choice had expanded from a single dynasty. The theological shift was seismic. The Göktürks had believed Tengri chose a specific clan. Genghis Khan claimed Tengri chose him personally, as an individual, and through him, all who submitted to Mongol rule. The Mongol Yasa law code, written on scrolls that have since been lost to history, framed every Mongol conquest as a decree from eternal heaven. No exceptions. The punishment was always death, because the crime was not against a man, it was against the sky. From the Volga River to the Yellow Sea, from the forests of Siberia to the deserts of Persia, rulers invoked the eternal blue sky for legitimacy. A Turkic warrior in the Crimea and a Mongol general in Baghdad prayed to the same sky. The shamanic rituals adapted, but Tengri was never an exclusive god. When Genghis Khan's descendants encountered Buddhism in Tibet, Nestorian Christianity in Syria, and Islam in Persia, the supreme dome encompassed every faith. A Buddhist monk and a Muslim Qadi could both be right. This theological tolerance, born from the steppe's infinite horizon, enabled an empire that stretched from Korea to Hungary. As early as the 10th century, the Karakanid Turks had begun identifying Tengri with Allah. The name survived. Modern Turkish still uses Tanrı for God, but the theology shifted. The shamanic drums fell silent. And the wolf, once Tengri's living standard, became a symbol remembered only in stories sung around dying fires. It transformed, seeping into the literary bloodstream of the Turkic world. In the 11th century, a Karakhanid scholar named Yusuf Kas Hajib wrote Kutadgu Bilig. A ruler who lacks cut is a ruler who will fail no matter how many soldiers he commands. The sky god's favor, once a living force flowing from the blue dome into the bones of a Khagan. They were woven into the fabric of modern Turkic identity. The gray wolf, Bozkurt, appears on the flags and emblems of Turkic nations. The wolf salute, two fingers raised to the sky, is used by Turkish nationalists as a direct echo of Asena's ancient role as Tengri's messenger. The gesture is not merely political theater. But the most remarkable chapter of this story is unfolding right now in the 21st century. Since the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, in Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, and Mongolia, a new generation is returning to the open-air ceremonies their ancestors performed. They face east. They pour offerings of kumis onto the earth. They invoke Kök Tengri not as a historical curiosity, but as a living presence. The revival is deeply political. It is a claim that the Turkic peoples have their own original faith, older than any scripture, rooted in the eternal sky that their ancestors worshipped. They are now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, protected as one of humanity's most important cultural monuments. They read the words carved 1,300 years ago, Tengri created the earth and the sky above. They see that the writing is still legible, that the covenant has not been erased. These stones are the most direct evidence of how a people understood their relationship with the divine. Every civilization asks the same question, why us? They were not chosen because they were perfect, or because they deserved it. They were chosen because they were willing to fight for the sky's order against chaos. And the moment they abandoned that fight, the moment they traded wolf fur for silk and bows for calligraphy, it is a responsibility that must be earned every single day under the same blue dome that watched the she-wolf descend into the Altai Mountains.